Hey everyone, this is MusicTechHelpGuy, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to export your drummer instruments as individual multi-tracks so you can mix drummer just like you would a real drum kit, or maybe you need to export these to bring over into another DAW. And I'm going to show you how to do this in two different ways, one with the producer kits, and two without the producer kits. So let's create a new drummer track here. And I'll add a couple more patterns to this, just like so. We can change up the pattern down here. And the first thing I want to show you is in the library under drum kit. If you go to producer kits, all of these drum kits with the plus next to them, these are full multi-channel drum kits. They have individual tom mics, room mics, overhead mics, leak mics, punch mic, additional auxiliary percussion. Whereas the original drummer instruments only have 5 channels. They have cymbals and overheads, a stereo tom channel, kick, snare, and a hi-hat and percussion channel. So if you're trying to break up these types of kits, I'll show you how to do that in the second half of this video. So I'll just load up this Retro Rock Plus kit here, and let's see what this sounds like. So the first step here is to open up the track stack that the drummer instrument is in, and you'll see all of these sort of auxiliary channels are being fed back to the Retro Rock track stack. Next, what I'm going to do is hold Shift and select all of these auxiliary channels within the track stack. And you want to make sure that you have these all selected out here in the tracks area, but you do not need to select the track stack itself. The next thing I do is I set my cycle range around the area that I want to export. I also like to give these like one measure of buffer, so I'll just pull those over a bit. But again, the important thing here is that you set a bounce range or an export range, and you select all of the channels that you want to export. Then what you do is you go up to File, Export, and then select 21 tracks as audio files, or it's, whatever number of tracks you've selected, or just press Command E. Then what I'll do is just create a folder here. I'll just call this Drum Multitracks. I'm going to save all of these inside this folder. This is the reason why I set that cycle range, because you can export just the cycle range only. You can set your format. You can set the bit depth. For multi-output software instruments, you want to select one file per track. You can choose to bypass effects, and you can choose to normalize as well. I'm not going to do that. Then I'll just click Export. Essentially what this has done is it's exported one audio file for each of these individual channels. So now I can just delete the original instrument. I'll go find that folder. Here it is, and you can see all of the files in here. I'll just drag these into Logic, create new tracks. And now I have all of the drum multi-tracks ready for me to mix, just like I would a normal drum kit. Now, sometimes you'll find that some of these are empty. It depends on the kit. It depends on the pattern. Not all of the instruments in the kit are always used for all of these. So some of these I can go ahead and remove, like there's no shaker here, there's no tambourine here. For this particular instrument, there's no tom low, so we can get rid of that as well. But essentially what I have is a kick in, a kick out. We got an additional kick track as well. I'm going to move these down to the bottom here because those are more like effects tracks. I've got a snare. I've got a snare top, snare bottom, hi-hat, leak, overheads, pump. That's more of an effect. I've got my 2 tom tracks here, and I've got a stereo room track as well. So some of these, I may not actually use them because they're more of like effects tracks, but you could, choose to blend them in with the mix of the rest of the drums. So again, now I can mix these just like I would a typical multi-track drum recording, or bring them over into another DAW and finish recording the rest of your song there. Now, if you're not using one of the producer kits, you can do this same thing, and it's actually way more simple to do with just the standard drummer instruments. So I'll choose one of these other ones. I'll choose Max here, and we'll just kind of duplicate this pattern out a couple times, move these over by 1 bar. And to do these, you have to load the drum kit in multi-output mode. So you just click here where it says drum kit, go up to drum kit designer and select multi-output. Now what you can do is you can click this plus button 4 times, And this will create separate channels for the cymbals, which is the first channel, the kick, the snare, the toms, and the hi-hat and any percussion. This is a little tricky because you have to actually create tracks for these in the tracks area because the standard drummer instruments are not contained in summing stacks or in track stacks like the producer kits are. So what you have to do is select these 4 channels that are not the original channel, right click or control click, and select create track or press Control T. And what this will do is it will put these other channels out here in the tracks area. Now what I do is I just select the top one, hold shift, select the bottom one, and then go through that same process. So just go File, Export, 5 tracks as audio files. I'll give this a new folder. I'll just call this drummer. Click Export. Now I can get rid of this whole instrument in here, and I can just load in those drum multi-tracks, just like so. And now all of those are separated into 5 channels. It looked like it was clipping there for a second, but it wasn't clipping. It was just my waveform zoom up here was zoomed all the way up. So I pulled that back a bit just so it didn't look like it was clipped. But yeah, you can get sort of like a simple separation here if you don't need as much individual mix control. But it's really helpful for mixing to have all 3 toms on different channels. It's helpful to have the kick, in and out, the snare top and bottom on separate channels. It's helpful to have your overheads and your rooms on separate channels. These are all sort of fundamental things that you want to properly mix the drums to your liking. So that's how you can export multi-tracks from Drummer and Logic Pro. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. As always, thanks for the support and thanks for watching.